all you gridiron fanatics. Glad you could join us here for another off-season edition of Gridiron Gab Pro Style, where we gab about all things pro football, from the scoops of the regular season to the scores of the postseason and the picks in the off-season. Let's start gabbing.
The autumn winds move like the thunderous waves of Neptune's sacred palace. And here, amongst the blackened soil, lies the ragged hands, worn, torn, and callous. They await with cunning and vicious prowess, for the warriors have returned. Come on, Dave! Don't do it! No way! You ready for crying out loud! You're driving me nuts! But behold.
Welcome back, you guys. Thank you all for joining us here. I am, of course, Mr. CeeLo here. And today we are about to do our thing on the 7-10 New York Jets. That's right, guys. The team that Aaron Rodgers thought he was going to make. Let's get into this. Let's not waste any time, you guys. But to say the Jets were a mess is an overstatement, because the defense was pretty good. I mean, for a team that had a -6 takeover margin was nothing short of outstanding. This defense was just so doggone good. And looking here with Zach Wilson only having 2,200 yards passing, Trevor Siemian only 724, Tim Boyle 360. All of these guys combined, even with Thomas Moorhead's 18 yards, combined for 3,000 yards passing. Now, we're just going to go right into it. The Jets are a mess on offense, but defensively, as I've said many times before, this is a team that is very structurally strong on the defensive side of the football. But they've just got to get some things offensively clicking. And unfortunately, with less than $1 million in cap space, there's not much room for improvement, you guys. And seriously, they need an upgrade on that offensive line, because even if Aaron Rodgers comes back, you're talking about a guy who's coming off an Achilles injury, and that's still going to be a psychological push. He just turned 40, and by next year's season end, he will be 41. Now, what needs to be a thought process going into the Jets is they've got some things to think about. They really do, because you're looking at the idea that you have one pick in the first 2 rounds. And I'm just going to be honest, guys, that's not going to cut it. You know, they're going to have to go up in this draft, because they really don't have a lot of capital. They really don't have a lot of cap space. That's the biggest problem that they have. They do not have a lot of cap space, because they're going to need at least anywhere from $8 million in order to sign any of their draft picks. Now, I will say this: that number could possibly come down, considering that they've only got 8 picks, but you've got 3 of these 8 picks are in the 7th round, guys. I don't care what anybody says. Yes, this draft is very deep, but you have to realize the odds that you're going to have a guy playing an important role out of the 6th and 7th round are very rare. I don't care what anybody says. You can get on here and try to challenge me on that if you want to. And in this situation the Jets are in right now, it is not a good one. Because even when they traded Sam Darnold, they took a guy in Zach Wilson. And I mean, there's even rumors that they could try to pry Trey Lance away from the Dallas Cowboys. I did hear that. I will even throw out there, what about Malik Willis? We've already seen what Zach Wilson can do and what he can't do. we've really had no gauge on what Trey Lance or Malik Willis could do. So if I'm the New York Jets and I can get some kind of compensation for Zach Wilson, or I could even trade him straight out for Trey Lance or Malik Willis. Not that anybody would more or less want this guy, but you never know. Somebody may see something in Zach Wilson that they like. But looking here that the Jets have a first-round pick, which is a number 10. They have a third-round pick, which is the 72nd pick, and they have a fourth pick, 2 fourth-round picks, and darn near on top of each other. Their fourth-round pick and the Broncos' fourth pick, which is a number 111 and number 113. Now, I think this is a deep draft, but I don't think you're going to get as much done outside of the third round. I'm a firm believer you get your starters in the first 3 rounds. Then you get guys that are just good supplemental guys from the 4th and 5th round and depth pieces. Outside of that, you're not really getting a whole lot. And that's just my opinion. People are going to say Brock Purdy, but here's the thing. Brock Purdy is not that dude. Let's leave that alone, people. But what I would say the Jets' biggest plan is they need to find 2 guards. They're going to have to find at least one guard. Like I said about the tackles, I would say you could get either Cornelius Lucas from the Commanders, which they may keep him, they may let him walk, you never know. Jonah Williams from the Bengals, which he's shown discontent, but he may come back. You could, like I said, re-sign Becton on a prove-it deal, not let him walk, as I've said in several other teams' off-season moves. Riley Reif, he's 36. You could bring him in as a move-along kind of guy or a bridge guy for the next regime. And then, of course, what you could do is look in the free agent market for your older guards. You got Kevin Dotson and Coleman Shelton. These guys are 29, 28 years old, respectively. You could take one of these guys and then just build a bridge for the rest of the line and bring in your guys from the draft. Now, here's the tricky part. You're not going to be able to get any of the top-tier guys because you have to sign these other guys. Now, what you could do is you've got some low-end draft picks. You're going to get third and fourth, and you won't need, which is arguably the $11 million mark. You probably need somewhere around the $7 million mark. So that means you could possibly take a chance on one of these big-time free agents, like maybe a Phil Haynes from the Seahawks, one of the left guard guys. You could pay him $8-9 million and then turn right back around and possibly. Well, I don't think Okafor, the Steelers, going to let Okafor walk. I really don't think so. But you could get Udoh from Minnesota. He's 27 years old. You're going to probably have to come out the pocket on him. But it would be something that you could very well easily manage. And then as well get you another edge guy, a pretty good edge guy that you could use. Houston's Jerry Hughes and Brandon Graham, 2 guys that are in their 30s, but then you really need to re-sign Bryce Huff, which I'm hearing that you're not going to do. You're not going to franchise him. I would say offer him a small deal because you need to keep this guy. This guy needs to be on your team because Carl Lawson is a guy that you're more than likely going to walk away from. I would say, hey, look, take us one more year or even give a shot at Carl Lawson. But more than likely the market's going to demand, this guy's going to take what the market's going to give him. And I don't blame him. But he'll probably walk. But you still have a shot at Bryce Huff. Maybe like the Panthers did with Hassan Reddick. Another year prove-it type deal. And possibly be able to save that. But ultimately, you got to get you a piece. You either got to get you a piece in free agency, whether it's a guard, tackle, or an edge guy. You need to walk into the draft with at least with no more than $8 million. So you need to have 2 pretty solid middle-of-the-road deals there. Now, as far as the draft goes, this is an interesting point that a lot of people aren't understanding about what's going on. Okay, you're looking at number 10. You got Talise Fuega that could possibly be there. You got Byron Murphy. You're going to have teams that are going to want to trade up for these guys. Now, the farthest I want to trade down if I am the New York Jets is possibly going to be number 23. And hopefully I've procured at least an extra two twos. And possibly a third. And possibly a first next season. That's what you want to be able to do. And then you can possibly take that first you got next year, put it with maybe the first that you got that year, and then maybe trade back into this pick. Or, take a second in this year's draft, trade out of that with that first next season. Because the whole point you want right now is, if you're the Jets, your whole mentality is what it was last year. Super Bowl or bust, because you know Aaron Rodgers is not guaranteed to be here another season. You have to be in. As of right now, you have to think the draft is the way to do this, because it is the easiest way with the least amount of financial burden. Now, everybody thinks, I believe, that trading is like playing a video game. No. Teams want to trade and get the players that they choose to, of their choice, if you will. I'm a firm believer that there are a lot of tackles in this draft that you can get as a Jets fan. You could very well trade all the way down to the 24th, 25th pick, because right here you're looking at, even if you bring Mekhi Becton back just on a one-year deal, you could still draft Troy Fontenot or Graham Burton. And then here's the beautiful thing. If you were to procure at least two more late first-round picks, you've got the 6'3" wide receiver out of LSU, Brian Thomas. 6'4". Brian Thomas out of LSU sitting there. Or you got Tyler Guyton. You need to get a big receiver, and then you got a Donnie Mitchell in the second round, as well as Keon Coleman middle of the second round. And then you've even got Jordan Morgan at the tackle. You have got an abundance of tackles in this draft that could definitely suit your fancy. You've got the talent to build this team back to where it needs to be with Aaron Rodgers. But then on top of that, you're not paying these guys top dollar. All you have to be willing to do as the GM of the Jets, you have to be able to say, okay, I'm willing to trade back. Tell people, take offers. You take their first and a second and possibly a third, depending on how high you have to. This team has to go up. You're going to find that teams are going to see certain players and they're just going to drool over them. Now, I get it. A lot of people are going to say, well, a lot of these tackles may not be. There's a reason why they're down here, down here, down here. Well, here's the reality of it. Not all number one tackles are found in the first round or in the top of the first round. There's a lot. These guys are grading out well for a reason. If I'm the Jets, I want at least 2 low-end first picks and at least 2 to 3 low-end second picks, because I've got 2/3. I could possibly get a third, and here's the beauty of this as well, guys. I want you to watch this. You could very well, in the late third, look at all these tackles, guys. You've got guys still in the tackle position that you can pick up. You got even a guy, you even got Mason Smith out of LSU, the 6'6", 315-pound defensive tackle. That would most definitely fit with the Jets' defensive scheme. He is quick and he can move, and he's a good pass rusher, you guys. I mean, the middle of this draft, I absolutely love, you guys. I'm absolutely in love with the interior and the outside aspect of this defensive side of the draft. I mean, you've got some really good players. Like Miles Murphy out of North Carolina, who's a 6'4", 310 pounds. He was just a stud at North Carolina. You know, Jordan Jefferson, 6'4", 317 pounds, another LSU guy. Listen, I'm going to tell you something. If the Jets play their cards right, they could take this 10th pick and they could actually pick up, like I said, at least 2 additional first-round picks, possibly 2-3 extra second-round picks, and a possible third. And they could build this team exactly the way they wanted to. Because then you've got even 6'2" Jalen Polk out of Washington they could take. And then I can't forget this guy. Ain't no telling what Aaron Rodgers would be doing with a guy like Xavier Worthy. Now, most of you don't know, but Xavier Worthy broke the combine 40-yard dash record previously held by John Ross back in 2017. Now, guys, I'm just going to say it like this. I get it. People are going to say, well, Ross flamed out. I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that there was a change regime, and it was just not a good fit. It was just absolutely not a good fit. And injuries and all sorts of other changes just did not do well. And all of a sudden, John Ross found himself in a position change. But anyway, Xavier Worthy is going up the board. I will say this right now. The guy's going to go up the board with his combine season. So here's what I would suggest. Jets, trade back as many times as you can till you get right around that 22nd, 23rd pick. Now, the thing is, I would not trade with just anybody. That's the big deal. Unless somebody just gave you a deal that you absolutely could not ignore. But here's the other thing that goes with that. You want to get to a point where you're having at least 2 first-round picks. That's what you want. Now, a lot of people are going to say, how are we going to procure that? Well, you just have to be careful about who you're trading with. There are going to be teams that are going to want to trade up because a lot of these players in this draft are going to be a lot of needs for a lot of the top-tier teams, and they don't want to trade. They don't want to trade for possibles. I know what people are going to say, oh, that doesn't make any sense. Well, absolutely it does. You would have a team like Kansas City that does not want to stand at 31st spot. They're not going to pay Mike Evans what they think. Now, I'm not going to get off on that yet, but could you imagine if they went out and got a guy like traded up to get a guy like Rome Odunze or possibly go out and trade up for a guy like Malik Neighbors? For that matter, they could take Brock Bowers. Go double tight end. Talking about the Jets Nation, I know you're not going to be happy with what I had to say, but you're really not in a really good position to make any kind of big moves in free agency, except re-signing your guys and maybe picking up a couple of middle-of-the-road type players that are going to possibly change a couple of narratives. But outside of that, you don't have much you can work with. You're going to have to build through the draft with the few picks that you have. And hopefully you can have some teams that are willing to trade up. But let me know what you guys think. As I said before, I truly believe what's going to happen is the Chiefs will probably take Talise Fuega, and then go all the way into the 3rd round, where they will more than likely draft somebody like a Blake Fisher, possibly a Johnny Wilson, or an Xavier Leggett. And that would work fine. I mean, that would work fine. I just think you would come out better trading down and possibly trying to set up better draft capital and setting yourself up for possibly snatching one of these wonderful guards in the 2nd round. But as I said, you guys, hit me up on Instagram at Mr. CeeLo. Also, go to our Facebook page of the same name, Gridiron Gab Pro Style, and let us know what you think and join the group, as well as commenting and subscribing to the channel so that we can keep growing, guys. And you guys have really loved these off-season projections and thoughts by myself and many of these other reporters that we're seeing out here and these other content creators. But until the next time, you guys, same Gab channel, same Gab platform.
But behold, there is a warm breeze that comes from the west. The blazing sounds of victory fuel their everlasting quest. It is a call to arms, for they are here. An army that has the will to challenge and the will to dare.
So it all comes down to